Hello friends, welcome back to Tech Server Global. Hope you guys doing well. Today we are going to discuss on Docker storage and bind mount. This is the additional video on Docker series. Hope you guys go through all the Docker series. So let's start with Docker storage and bind mount. Today in this video we are going to discuss Docker storage, container immutability, what are the Docker image store, where we can store the image, types of Docker storage, and last one is volume and bind mounting. So first we'll discuss what is Docker storage. Storage in Docker refers to the persistent data associated with the containers. Docker uses storage driver to manage the contents of the image layers and writable container layer. So when we create the container, it requires some storage to store its data, which is known as container storage or else Docker storage. Also, it has certain layer which has been included along with the default image storage with writable container layer, where we can additionally add our data. As we know that image is a pre-built operating system with additional applications. So where certain layers are not writable, like we cannot edit the existing image with the running container, right? So we need to add additional storage to write our customized data. Container immutability. Container image is having certain limitations. First one, data doesn't persist when the container no longer exists. Container writable layer is tightly coupled to host machine where the container is running. So we can bind a container writable data with our host machine only when the container is running state. Not easy to move the data somewhere else. If we use the default container data, it is difficult to move your data within container to different container or different host machine. So how exactly this container immutability concept is been work? So for example, this is the container and it's running one. When your container has been run, you can add a data or download the data, or you can work on that. For example, if we remove this container, then with container the data also being released, or we can say just removed. Right? Because it's a it's not rewritable content, it's a temporary writable content. When you remove the container, automatically data has been gone. To persist this scenario, we can add or mount additional storage which has been associated with your physical machine, or else you can use NFS or you can use a remote storage using SSH. So there are multiple options where we can apply storage to our container. So without storage, the container looks like this. Simple container. When suppose if we remove this container, automatically your data has been gone or it's terminated. For example, if we have the container with volume or storage, for example, if we remove the container, storage is still persist. So you can attach that storage to the new container, or else you can reuse this storage to another container. Also, you can copy this storage to another machines, or you can replicate that particular data within two new machines. where the Docker image stored. So basically Docker is having image. In when I say image, it also known as data, right? And it metadata in different folder. So different operating system, when I say operating system, that means the host operating system where we set up the Docker engine. If we talk about the open source technologies, it's stored in /var lib Docker. And if we talk about the Windows base, it's stored under C Docker, right? The content is dependent on the storage driver. Different OS, different default driver storage. You can change the driver storage by using Docker daemon. Examples of Docker driver, storage driver is UFS, BTRFS, driver map, VFS, ZFS, overlay, and the overlay 2. The main motto of the storage is to store the data, and the different storage driver because of variety of operating system. Suppose if I'm currently working on the Windows platform, right? So this is my Windows PowerShell, and this is my Docker engine, right? So if I need to identify that which container storage are being used, I have option called Docker info. The command is used to identify all the details of your Docker engine, where you get option of storage. Storage driver is overlay 2. Okay, so depend on the operating system and the Docker engine, the storage driver is being changed. Okay, so you can also run same command on Linux based engine. Now the types of Docker storage, there are 3 types of Docker storage. First one is container storage, where we can write or add our own data. Second is volume storage. By creating volume, you can use that volume with multiple container. And third one is image storage. When we pull or use any existing image, it's having its own image container storage. Like for example, if I pull Nginx latest, and when Nginx pull, it downloaded certain predefined storage, which is also known as image storage. First one is container storage. Storage within the containers writable layer, where we can just write down or write certain additional data. Characteristics: short-lived, deleted when the container removed. As I mentioned in the earlier slide, that when you create the container, the temp data will automatically created. When you remove the container, automatically that particular writable layer is been automatically removed. Also your data also been removed. Stored temporary files and runtime data, because we know the container images are the short time and the runtime. Like when we, for example, we need to run the certain page, only then and then we can just need to run the container. Lightweight and emittable, so it's lightweight, we can easily move and it easily manage. Second one is volume storage. Volume storage, it's independent storage where we can just use that volume into multiple container as well. Persist data storage in independent of container lifecycle. Advantage is data persistence across the container, restart and remove. When you remove or restart the container or create a new container, there is no impact on the volume. Enables data sharing among with the container. You can attach same volume with multiple container, and support the data backup and recovery. You can also having the backup and recovery concept. Image. Different files represent the read-only layer of Docker image. Heaviest contents usually image, Docker image layer on the top of the content your changes, maintain all the images on local as well as Docker Hub. So you can manage that image from local. If you pull the image, it's stored locally. If you don't have the image, you can directly try to get from the Docker. So there are three types of Docker storage. Now let's come to the main point, volume and bind mounting. So there are two ways to attach a storage. First one is volume and second one is bind. So volume persists on disk stored in a part of host file system which is managed by Docker, and bind mounting is persist on disk and stored at anywhere on the host machine. So volume is simply, first you need to create a volume. It is been stored in host file, but it is been managed by the Docker. When we talk about the bind, we need to create one folder, and that particular folder we can associate as a storage within the container. That is called bind mounting. First, we discuss about the volume mounting. First, for example, read and write /var lib MySQL default storage for the or default location for the MySQL container layer. This is the layer within the container. And data volume. For example, I have created one volume with the name called data volume, which has been actually created with /var /lib /docker /volume. So automatically it created under this volume path. Read only MySQL image layer and the Docker host. I mean, for example, when you pull an MySQL image, certain containers content are the read only. You cannot add or you cannot use or you cannot rewrite that particular part. But as a mount point, I have mount /var lib MySQL writable content to my volume, which has been attached to my machine where we have hosted our Docker engine, and this is our Docker host. Okay, so let's move to practical scenario. Okay, these are the commands we can just use. First one, how to list out all the volumes, how to create volume, how to inspect, and how to mount volume with new container using -- mount and using -v command. So let me navigate to command prompt, and before I start, just validating any volumes are persist or not. So since there is no any volume, so let me run the command docker volume ls. There is a no volume in existing Docker engine. So let me create Docker and Docker volume create and the volume name, for example, let's say temp storage. You can use your. Now let me list again. So you can see driver local and volume name is temp storage. Now let me refresh on the volume. So in volume you can see temp storage is created 2 seconds ago and its size having 2 KB. If you click on the data, you can see there is no certain data. Okay. Now let me mount using -- mount. So I'm creating one Nginx based container data and mount the volume with the, for example, /app, or you can use anywhere like /home /data /temp anywhere within container. So docker run -td -- name of the container, let's say Nginx -- mount source is equals to, and this to a volume name temp storage and target is equals to slash, I mean to say, for example, app. Let me mount with the slash app and the image name nginx colon latest. So I'm going to run one new container in detached mode with the name called nginx. Mount our this volume temp storage to slash app, okay, and using nginx colon latest image. So now new image has been created, new container has been created, okay. This is the logs. Inspect. When you inspect it, okay, these are the information. Here there is one information on mounts where you can use where you can see the temp storage is been mount with slash app, okay. Exec certain no files, okay. So I'm just navigating to slash app. Let me create data cd data touch 1 2 3 4 5, okay. Now let me navigate to volumes, click on the slash data 1 2 3 4 5. Now let me create one new container with name nginx1 and mount same with app1, okay. Okay, now let me navigate to containers. There are two containers, nginx, nginx1. Let me navigate to, I'm just exec where the data is app1, okay. Data, let me create 2 files, 6 7 8 9, okay. Now let me validate in volumes as well, okay. Now let me navigate to nginx machine, it mounted with slash app. So common volume you can attach with multiple container, okay. Now let me create two additional one more image, one more container using -v option. Here we use hyphen mount and now we are using -v. So command is like docker run -td -name, let's say nginx2, because I already created nginx1, nginx1. Now the command is -v, the storage name temp storage colon where you want to mount. So let's say app2 and nginx colon latest. So if you compare two commands, the only difference is here we have the hyphen mount where source is temp storage and target will be slash app. Here we just need to have colon. Okay, now let me run the command. Okay, there should be one more container, nginx2, and let me navigate to exec. Now cd /app2 data and ls. Okay, so using Docker volume you can attach same storage with multiple containers. Okay, now let me remove all the containers and validate the storage persist or not. So I just said docker container stop nginx, nginx1 and nginx2. Sorry, I just space here. Okay, now docker container and prune. So docker container prune is command used to remove all the stop container. Okay, before I just say yes, I just want to click on containers. There are 3 containers or are on stop state, exited. Let me remove it. Okay, now all the containers are removed. Now let me navigate to volumes. Okay, temp storage is still there. Okay, and our content are also being saved node. So when you remove the container, it will not affect on the volumes. This is called real-time data, where we can just use in multiple container, as well as if containers being removed at using any reason, you can reuse that particular data, and this is the writable content of your data. Okay, hope you guys find this identify the good scenario with this volume. Now let me navigate to the presentation. Okay, as far we known see the volume mounting, one more concept called bind mounting. Here the scenario will be same, but the difference is Varlib MySQL is mount with any of the data. Like when we create one folder and we just mount that particular folder within the container. So when you use that particular container, automatically that folder or directory been automatically mount with your writable content. And then when you add or more data on that particular layer, it will automatically, that data will replicate it to the bind mount, means that particular directory, and remaining the part are the read only and the Docker host. So let me create one folder and mount that particular folder with existing new container, create new container and attach with that particular folder path. Okay, so let me just navigate to the D drive folder called, for example, container data. Okay, now let me use this container data with new by applying with the new container docker run -td -name. Let's say nginx -mount type is equals to bind source. Let's say what is the name of the container data? Target /app and nginx latest. Let me run this. Okay, invalid mount config type bind. Let me check. I'm just pausing this video. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we made one mistake. We'll directly define this container data, and it should be the relative path, like the colon slash and that particular folder name. So let me explain this command again. Docker and -td -- name of the container -- mount. First we mount the bind container using -- mount. Mount type is equals to bind. Source will be d container data, because we create a folder called container data in D drive, and target is /app and nginx latest. So let me run the container. Nginx is already there. Let me container stop and like Docker container. Let me remove all the container. Now rerun this. Okay, now just navigating to container exec and navigator to cd/app. Okay, now let me create some content on D drive. Container data. Temp1 ls. Okay, temp1 touch 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so using bind volume you can mount particular folder in container as a writable layer of the data. Same way you can use the -v option. Let me create one more folder, container data 1. Okay, and let me okay 1, and the name of the container is nginx1. So using -v you can simple define that particular folder and mount with your folder within the image container, let's say f1. Okay, now let me navigate to containers nginx1 exec cd/app1. Okay, so let me create a folder mkdir temp1 mkdir temp2. Okay, now one more folder with container data. Okay, let me create one folder. Let me check the inspect volume has been mounted or not. Link volume has not been mount properly, so let me rerun this command. colon slash and let me create one more container. Okay, Docker yes exec okay, test folder is there, which we have created under this test ls. Let me touch through files. Okay, so using bind you can mount with the folder, and using volume you can use your volume within the container. So difference is using bind you can have a specific folder, and using volume you can create a volume within the Docker engine and you can use that particular. Okay, so these are the options where we can use a writable content or writable layer of the storage and volume. Hope you guys find well with this video, and thanks for watching this video. Keep subscribe the channel, and thank you.